Today, we are talking about understanding the solar system and understanding how our view of the solar system has changed. So, you should have your note guide in front of you. And quick review, remember how our solar system formed. There was a supernova that sent a wave of energy through the interstellar cloud nebula that became the location of our sun and several other stars. As these stars starts to form, we get the planetesimals that form in the disk, the accretion disk surrounding the star. And then we have bipolar jets. This is excess energy being forced out of the protostar. Sketch and label. So draw your accretion disk, put it in the protostar, sketch the bipolar jets. What else besides the planets and the sun? We have asteroids. These are small rocky bodies that orbit the sun. We have the asteroid belt, which is between Mars and Jupiter, and they think that's a failed planet formation because the gravity of Jupiter was so strong that it stopped the planet from forming, but it wasn't strong enough for those small pieces to get sucked into where Jupiter is. So they got a permanent stuck place between Jupiter and Mars. A meteoroid, any material that falls from space towards Earth. So that could be an asteroid, it could be the satellites when they decide that the satellites are too old, any material that falls from space towards Earth. The streak of light we see in the sky when the meteor enters the atmosphere, we call a meteor. Hence the term meteor shower, which you have a picture over here of a meteor shower. If the meteoroid does not burn up and it actually hits Earth, then it's called a meteorite. And here's a meteorite on the right hand side. I remember meteorites because I can hold it right in my hand. So that's another way to try and keep the different terms because they all have meteor in them. What else? Comets. Comets are small bodies made of ice and rock, and they orbit the sun in a very elliptical orbit. A lot of the comets are very well documented. For example, Halley's is probably our most famous one. It was observed well over 2,000 years ago. The Chinese described it 239 BC. Here's the way elliptical orbit of Halley's comet. It goes way out beyond the into the Kuiper belt, and then it comes all the way around, swings around the moon, the sun. Halley's Comet swings around the sun and then goes back out into outer space. Okay, today we know that the planets are helio, meaning sun, centric, meaning centered. So we know that they orbit the sun. And here's our solar system as we know it today. Aristotle's model was the very first model ever done, 360 BC, so well over 2,000 years ago. This is called the geocentric model. What do you notice? Write it down. How is this different than the one we just saw on the previous slide? So here's geo, here's helio. How is this one different than what we know today? So Aristotle, Greek thinker, Socrates is probably one of the first Greek thinkers. Then you have Plato. Plato was a teacher of Aristotle. So that's kind of a line if you remember anything from your history or English class when they talk about some of these people. Ptolemy. We've jumped ahead about 400 years. We've crossed the BC to AD barrier there. He was not only an astronomer, but also a mathematician and a geographer, in other words, a map maker. So he studied the different planets and said, well, they're obviously not going in a perfect circle around our planet. So therefore, there must be this weird motion, and he called it the retrograde motion. And so he came up with a model that puts into the account the fact that the planets don't always go in a circle around the Earth. But yet they thought it had to go in the circle around the Earth. Okay, so how would you describe Ptolemy's model? So here's Jupiter, and they're saying Jupiter does these loop de loop things here. Mars is going in a circle as well as it's going around. Venus is going in a circle. Saturn's going in a circle. So these are what they call the retrograde movements. And Mercury's doing the same thing here. Okay, so here's a new model, 1530. Nicholas Copernicus developed this model. What is different? What stands out between this model and Ptolemy's model and Aristotle's model? Do you think people believe this new model, and why or why not? And that is the end of the first part of the notes. I will talk to you soon.